I call Haley Flores. Ms. Flores, are you the current caseworker in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Or do you have to the department, correct?
I'm sorry, I was coughing. What was that?
It's for the department. You're her caseworker for the department.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you aware of any other court actions involving this child, Annabelle?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Have all the parties been served?
I believe so, yes, ma'am. We have an unknown father, which we did public service notification, and then the other alleged father is deceased.
Have you requested a birth certificate to confirm?
That was the alleged. I don't know if we have a birth certificate on file. I'll have to double check that file.
Okay. Let's go back and say the child is Annabelle. She is 14 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she placed?
She is in a shelter right now.
Okay. But would that be McLennan County?
I'm not sure the exact county. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay, it's all right. And she's in middle school right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What grade is she in?
She is in 8th grade.
8th grade. How's she doing?
They did change her schedule around, and she seems to be doing better after they've made some switches. I do know that they were going to test her for some special needs. I haven't gotten the results of that yet.
Okay. Do you know if the testing has been made?
I'm not sure. I know that they had emailed us about some questions, but I'm not sure if the testing has been completed or not, but I know that that was in the process.
Thank you. How's she doing in her placement?
She's been doing well. There was an incident this weekend that nobody got hurt, but there was an incident, and they did make me aware of it. They called me, and there was like a fight, and she was part of it, and she got really mad at staff after they corrected that behavior. But other than that, that's been the only incident she's had since she's been at this placement.
Okay. Any idea what instigated the incident, or is that all you know?
From what I was told from staff, is that she had dared another child to kiss another child at church, another little girl to kiss another little girl at church. And when she got mad when the little girl actually said that it was her idea to do it. And then she ended up hitting that little girl. And then of course, when the staff, redirected her, she got upset and started yelling at the staff. Nobody was hurt, injured, or anything else, but that was the incident that happened.
But it's the only one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is she able to take part in regular activities for a child her age?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you notify relatives about the removal for Annabelle?
We have reached out to multiple family members through phone calls, and we have tried to get them to possibly be placement, and nobody at this time is willing.
Nobody's willing. Are there any that you could not add? My understanding is you have some of the alleged father's family identified, but have not been able to reach them. Is that correct?
Correct.
I see that you had a permanency hearing or permanency conference in February.
Yes, ma'am.
Was Crystal Bear, the mother, was she there?
No, but Ty was her attorney.
Her attorney was there. Did you develop a service plan?
We did. The mom is wanting to voluntarily relinquish her rights. I believe Ty has sent it in already, or he was going to. So that was kind of the basis of our meeting, was him letting us know that that's what she was wanting to do, and she was actually coming the next day to sign the relinquishment.
And as far as you're aware, you believe she has already finished that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So she didn't follow any of the services ordered in the courts, the last order, because it didn't develop the plan, correct?
I have developed a plan. I have not filed it with the court. She is, like I said, she is wanting to relinquish, and she does not want to work any services at this time.
Right. Does she want visitation with Annabelle?
She does. They have phone call visits right now. And since the travel, it's a long way away. And she's also on dialysis twice a week. She has a lot of medical appointments. She's not able to travel that distance at this time, but they do have phone call visits.
Those are good.
Yes.
And for Annabelle, did she, did Ms. Bears submit medical and, wait, let me get this right. Medical release?
Not that I'm aware of that I have. No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, let's say that. Okay. Did she give information on family history, medical history?
No, ma'am. I do know that there is a history of diabetes. And again, with her condition, she is on dialysis twice a week. I've actually been in an office with her, and she's very sick.
Well, I mean, family history for Annabelle, that might be
No.
concerned for Annabelle's medical. Okay. So how is Annabelle, is she up to date on her medical, dental, and psychological?
Yes, ma'am.
Care? Okay, she had a dental on the March 7th.
She's going to have one on March 7th. Yes, ma'am.
That hasn't happened yet, has it? Okay, and you said here she needed to get glasses. Did she get those?
Not as of the last time I talked to them.
Okay.
But I know that they are coming in. Mine took 2 weeks last time, so it takes a little bit of time.
You can't control that, but you've done what you can do. On the, has Annabelle been assessed for CANS, had a CANS assessment?
She has, I have requested that from the placement. We were having troubles with our health passport or superior passport, trying to get things in. So she emailed me back yesterday or Monday, and I've been in training for 2 days, so I haven't rechecked health passport. But she said if it's not in there, she'll get her person to send it to me.
In her is she up to date in her psychological evaluation and treatment?
Yes.
Okay, and did you get an evaluation from Dr. Hill?
Yes, they sent it to me, like I said, this week, and I've been in training, so I haven't fully gone over everything, but they have sent it to me.
You know what the diagnosis is?
No, ma'am. Like I said, I haven't fully gone over it because I was in training the last 2 days.
Is Annabelle taking any psychotropic medication?
Not at this time.
In your report, it says she was on hydroxyzine. Say again?
Sorry. She is on the Abilify, the Hydrox. I forgot that was a psychotropic. I do apologize. And the Prozac.
Right. Does she understand what that is and why she's taking it?
She understands why she takes it. She has actually discussed that with me, that she knows why she's taking these medications. She doesn't know the names of them, but she knows what they're for.
Names are hard a lot of times.
They are.
So, what are the department's primary and concurrent permanency goals at this time?
Because we don't have the relinquishment fully executed, we do have it as reunification at this time. Because that's, what our main goal always is. But we are, like I said, waiting for that relinquishment to be fully executed.
Okay. Do you have a secondary or concurrent?
It would be relative adoption.
Okay. And you're working on finding a relative?
Yes, ma'am.
Continuing on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that this plan is in the best, I'm sorry, let me ask you this first. Are you asking the court to order that the Texas Department of Family Protective Services continue as temporary manager of
Yes,
Annabelle? Okay. And that her placement be continued?
Yes, ma'am, at this time.
Right. Okay. Do you believe that these are appropriate for the needs of the child?
Yes, ma'am.
And toward the goals of the department as understood right now?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the child, Annabelle?
Yes, ma'am.
Has Annabelle given an opinion? Has she been asked her opinion of her placement and the goals?
She is happy at her placement right now. She does of course, miss family. She has talked about her grandmother a couple of times. But she understands, as she has put, that sometimes she's hard to deal with, which of course breaks my heart for her to say that. But that is kind of her understanding. She is doing well where she's at overall. And again, I know that she misses family, but that's of course something that we are working heavily on.
Has she had an opportunity to talk to her grandmother?
I have approved it. And I know that she's talked about grandma, and I've tried to contact grandmother a couple of times and I've not gotten a response back from grandma. But I also know that grandma is sick as well. So there's a lot of sickness.
Is there anything else that you think that the court should know today?
Not at this time, no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Pass the
Thank you.
witness.
Ms. Smith, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Flores, the shelter that Annabelle is in, about how many girls are in there? Do you know?
They told me last time about 8, 6 to 8.
And there's older girls and younger girls. Where is she in terms of the ages of the girls that she's placed with?
She's actually one of the older ones.
Okay. Does the department, from what I've understood and been reported, that she's kind of getting in with the older girls and they're kind of telling her what to do a little bit too, and a little bit of following going on?
Yes, she does have an issue with following. They also have stated that, but she's a follower, but they've also stated that she's also the calm. So it's she's kind of got a weird combination going there, but yes, she has seemed to be kind of following quite a bit lately.
Okay. And we do have an ARD meeting coming up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
For
I don't
her,
remember the exact date.
as far as school's going, she's doing well still, isn't she?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she's still talking to her mother weekly, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is the department aware of any possible placements for Annabelle at this time that are not family?
We do have a possible one. There was some stipulations on when I did talk to them of when, they wanted to make sure she stayed. They didn't want to really let her go. They wanted to kind of keep her, but I couldn't promise that because the current goal right now is family reunification. So I couldn't, they're kind of just hanging there waiting until something else happens.
So basically they said that they didn't want to be placement at all if they couldn't keep Annabelle forever, basically, right?
Correct. Or have that option to keep her forever. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the department's kind of waiting to make sure that there's not any family members coming forward and that those resources are exhausted before moving forward with potentially placing her with this family.
Yes, ma'am.
And does this family live in Eden? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And like you mentioned in your previous testimony, she's doing well in her current placement, but she's kind of getting anxious and ready to get out of there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am. I think she's ready. I think she wants to be close so she can, possibly see her mom and everything else, considering the circumstances. I think she understands that her mom is really sick. So I think she just wants to be close.
As far as the previous behavior that got and prior to her hospitalization, has there been any of the self-harming behavior or any of the aggression other than the recent incident since she's been placed at the facility in Waco?
No, ma'am. There has been nothing. Like I said, the only thing from this past weekend, she wasn't physically hurting anybody. She was just yelling. There wasn't, nobody was, or herself, nobody was hurt.
Has the staff reported how her behavior has been or her demeanor at all to you?
They've said that she's overall pleasant. Like I said, minus the weekend, or I guess it was Saturday, Sunday, I can't remember. Minus that incident, overall, they really enjoy her being there. She's very happy most of the time. They describe her smile as contagious, that when she's smiling, everybody's smiling. So, I mean, everything's been very positive, like I said, minus the incident this weekend.
And her spirit, she's been in a great mindset, it seemed like from speaking with her. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any other concerns that the department has with how Annabelle's doing right now?
Not at this time, no, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Flores.
Ms. Thompson, anything additional?
Yes, Your Honor, just one. Ms. Flores, has there been any indication that the child might have Native American heritage?
Not that we are aware of, no, ma'am.
Okay, not from any source. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Flores, you said she's in an emergency shelter.
Yes, ma'am.
How long can she stay there?
I believe 60 to 90 days, and we're coming up on the 40th right now, I believe. 40, 41, right around there.
So what's the plan?
We are still looking for family, of course. I've been searching, calling. Other than that, we will request another placement. So like I said, I have been working on trying to find family or someone that's
What's
fit
her
to kin.
level? What's her level of care?
I believe on my side, it shows basic, but that was what was given to me. So
So
I'm
has
not
she
sure.
had a level of care evaluated yet?
I would have to double check on my side. I know it was in the process.
If it is basic, then we're looking at a foster home placement.
Yes, ma'am, if I can't find family.
It's likely that's going to happen before our next hearing. So if she does have a move, if you would file an advisement, I would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Smith, any witnesses or statement?
No witnesses, Judge, but just a statement. I have talked to Annabelle. She's a very lovely, very polite, and her demeanor was really upbeat. I was very surprised to hear all the great reports really after everything that had happened leading up to her removal. I am concerned that while she is okay in that placement, she is I think she's starting to get a little more unsettled, and then these things are starting to happen. And I just don't want the wheels to fall off this before we get her put somewhere that she's really good. So I reached out to the potential placement that is from Eden. I believe it's a family from their church, and I've not heard back yet, but I did leave a message to see if I could talk with them about being placement. I think that would be really good for her, and she's familiar with them, and it's closer to places and people that she's familiar with. And I hope that that works out for her. But other than that, I think she's doing well. I just would like to see her out of the shelter as quickly as we can do that.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Can I hear from CASA, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Last week I was able to visit her, and as everyone said in here, like, she seems like she's adjusting well to both the shelter and the school. I'm just now aware of the incident that happened over the weekend, but overall she seems like she's making friends, and she's agreeable to the staff there, and them helping her to do certain things like hygiene and whatnot. She does miss her family, as was mentioned, and she is very eager to know, like, ultimately what's going to happen to her, because she does know the shelter is temporary. So ultimately, like, I echo the request of, like, just family connections being strengthened and maintained, and if possible in person. But also the thing I'll add is just continued access to mental health resources. Bearing in mind this could be like a honeymoon period since being in care. So.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I do agree that there tends to be a honeymoon period, and staying in an emergency shelter any longer than is necessary is not appropriate. If it helps the placement, the mother did file, and I will take judicial notice of an affidavit of relinquishment of parental rights on February 23rd of 2023. That does show in the public system. So her affidavit has been executed and filed. I likely will be accepting it at the next hearing where her attorney and she may be available. What I would also need is a suggestion of death. That's the legal term for it, a suggestion of death for Mr. Cheney. If there's an obituary, a death certificate, something that can be found, then a suggestion of death needs to be filed into the case so that it is official that that alleged father is deceased. And then I did notice that the motion and order for substituted service on the unknown father was filed yesterday on February 28th of 2023. So I'll be signing that order for substituted service and appointing the unknown father an attorney for purposes of diligent search. All that being said, to show the reason why I am not going to be ordering services in this case, and expediting our final. Our next setting is May the 22nd at 11 a.m. And that is going to be a final setting. All the procedural matters as far as service and suggestion of death need to be filed at least 45 days in advance of that final date. Having said all that, perhaps now another conversation can be had with the placement that wants to have her, but wants to have her permanently, and let them know that the case is being expedited and paperwork has already been filed that can get us to a final much sooner than later. I do want to make sure that she continues to have contact with her mother and her grandmother. I know that her mom is very ill, and that may be one of the issues she's going to have as she stays longer out of the house, is her concern over that. So if you are able, Ms. Flores, to give her just some minimal updates on her mom's health so she can be reassured in that. Otherwise, our next setting will be the 22nd at 11 a.m. for a final setting that is in person. I'm going to ask that Ms. Thompson, if you'll hang on for just a bit, and everybody else, we are adjourned. Thank you. And they have not shown for the last 3 hearings, if
Right.
not all of them, I believe.
Yeah, and I would, due to the lack of my client, I would move for a continuance, but that's all I can do. And I did speak with her yesterday and give her a Zoom number.
It was what? I'm sorry, sir.
I did speak with her yesterday and gave her a Zoom number.
All right, thank you, sir. Your request for continuance is denied. May I have all the witnesses, potential witnesses, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Rankin, I believe the witnesses are sworn, or the witness is sworn. You may proceed.
Thank you. Department calls Ms. Mims. Can you state your full name
Stormy Mims.
and how are you employed?
I'm the CPS caseworker for this case.
Okay. And can you briefly tell the court how the department came into this family's life?
Yes, so Alex was born and he had tested positive for methamphetamines and marijuana. He was care flighted to Austin right after delivery, and he was not expected to live, but he is doing well.
Okay. And some of his, this is a pretty severely medically fragile child, correct?
That's correct.
Do some of his issues that he's had since birth include congenital disorders, blindness, deafness, eye bleeds, some pretty serious medical issues, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he was well enough to get out of intensive care, was he placed with a foster family that could meet these medical needs?
Yes, he was placed in May. He was in intensive care until May. I believe it was the 20. I'm not sure exactly the exact date, but it was May of 2022.
Okay. And so roughly how many months was he in the NICU?
He was born on the 13th of February, so about 4 months.
Okay. And during that time, did either respondent parents participate in his care, come to the NICU for visitations, anything like that?
The father did go to the NICU with a pit bull as a service dog. He was denied access for that. He was then also criminal trespass from the hospital due to having methamphetamines and marijuana on his person.
Okay. And let me just stop you there. So he did arrive at the NICU. When he did, he brought a pit bull that he claimed to be a support pit bull, correct?
That's correct.
And was APD notified?
Yes,
And did they arrive?
yes,
And was the backpack on the pit bull searched?
yes,
Did that have narcotics and paraphernalia on its pack?
yes,
So he was arrested for criminal trespass, or he was given a criminal trespass warning and not allowed to come back, and then arrested for the narcotics, correct?
I'm not sure if he was arrested or if he was just told not to come back to the hospital.
Okay. And so after that, did he respect that and not come back to the hospital?
Yeah, he did not come back.
Did the respondent mother make frequent trips to check on her child, see how the child was doing, assist in any care?
No, I believe Audrey seen Alex one time before he left, before he was care flighted. And then I believe that she did go see him in Austin at the hospital one time.
Ms.
And
Rankin,
yes, ma'am.
I'm going to pause you and ask that for the purposes of the record, can we use people's names, please? We're
Yes, ma'am.
saying mother and father, and I know that's a habit, but we need to use their names, please.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Audrey Rodriguez and Christopher Flores, did you prepare family plans of service for both parents?
Yes, I did.
And were those filed with the court?
The unsigned was filed with the court, yes.
And did you participate in a status hearing in which the court ordered the parent, both respondent parents to complete those services in order to reunify with the child, Alex Flores?
Yes,
Okay, at this time, I'd like to admit exhibits 1, 2, and 3, the family plans of service for Audrey Rodriguez and also Christopher Flores.
No
And the
objection, Your Honor.
status hearing order for,
I'm sorry, 1 second, gentlemen. What was the third one?
the status hearing order in this case.
So what is petitioners one specifically? Is it the Ms. Rodriguez family plan of service?
Ms. Rodriguez's family plan of service, exhibit 2 would be Mr. Flores's family plan of service, and exhibit 3 is the status hearing order.
All right, now, Mr. Lifesty, any objection?
No objections to all three exhibits, Your Honor.
And Mr. Ratliff?
No objection, Your Honor.
Those will be admitted.
Has Ms. Rodriguez completed any of the items listed on her family plan of service?
no,
Has she maintained any type of significant contact with this child?
not at all.
Has this child been in the department's conservatorship for more than 9 months?
Yes,
Has she provided any type of monetary or in-kind support for the child, Alex Flores?
no,
And at each hearing, was she found to be non-compliant with her family plan of service?
yes,
Are you asking that the court terminate the parent-child relationship between Ms. Rodriguez and Alex Flores?
yes,
Do you believe that would be in the child's best interest?
yes,
Have you actually had conversations with Ms. Rodriguez about whether or not she has the ability to care for Alex?
yes. I spoke to Audrey when she had her new baby on February 7th. And I was speaking to her specifically about the court hearing and about Alex. She did state then that she did not, she's not able to care for herself, and she knows that she's not able to care for Alex. She did do a private adoption for the new baby.
And so how many children have been previously removed from Ms. Rodriguez?
So Alex is number 4 for a removal. The new baby was not removed, but was investigated.
So at this time, she has none of her biological children in her care.
That's correct.
And she's acknowledged that she's not in a position where she can take care of any children whatsoever.
That's correct.
Have you had any conversations with Mr. Flores as to his desires to his child?
I have not spoke to Mr. Flores. I have reached out to many family members, and he refuses to speak to the department.
Okay. Now, you also prepared a family plan of service for Mr. Flores.
That's correct.
Has he completed any of the items on that list?
No, ma'am.
And has he continued to be wholly non-compliant with his services throughout this entire case?
Yes,
Has he maintained any type of significant contact or visitation with the child since the child's birth?
no,
And has this child been in the department's conservatorship for more than 9 months?
yes,
Has he also failed to provide any type of monetary or in-kind support for the child?
correct.
And has the department made reasonable efforts to reunify this child with both of its parents?
Yes,
Have those efforts been unsuccessful?
yes.
Do you know where Mr. Flores resides today?
My understanding, he is homeless.
Okay.
He doesn't have-
And you haven't had an opportunity to look to see if wherever he's staying is safe and appropriate for any child, let alone a medically fragile child?
That's correct.
Are you asking this court to terminate the parent-child relationship between Mr. Flores and Alex Flores?
Yes,
Do you believe that termination is in Alex Flores's best interest?
yes, I do.
And why do you believe that it's in the best interest of Alex Flores to have parental rights terminated?
Well, neither one of the parents have been compliant or even responsive to the department throughout the case. They do still continue, I should say, Audrey continues to test positive. When she had her new baby, she tested positive for methamphetamines and marijuana. Neither one of them have even had a concern to even contact me to see how he's doing or anything. Whenever I seen Audrey on February the 7th, she didn't even really want to talk about it, talk about Alex at all.
Now, since the filing of your court report, I believe it was on February 1st, have there been some more medical updates regarding this child?
Yes, we had, I had to request for an emergency surgery on the 22nd, I believe it was, of February. They thought that Alex's G-tube was being kinked or had attached itself to something inside of him. And so they needed to sedate him and go in and check things out. Luckily, it was just kinked inside. So they were able to get that fixed and repaired, and hopefully he's, on the mend.
Now, after that surgery, did he also go back into the emergency room?
Yes, he went to the emergency room due to breathing issues. And his O2 stats were quite low. And so they just had to monitor him over this last weekend just to make sure that he was still, doing okay. The report on Monday is that his stats were up to 94, which was way better than what they were previously.
And is he back home at the foster family's residence now?
Yes, he is.
Are the foster parents equipped to handle his medical needs?
They are.
And at this time, do you know what the intentions are long-term for the foster parents?
My understanding is that they are able to care for him until placement is found or adoption is found. They are licensed to adopt, but they do believe that he has potential to find a loving, caring family that would take care of him.
So until he's out of the extremely medically fragile zone, they're willing to be his long-term caregiver, or until an adoptive placement that has the ability to care for his medical needs comes up.
That's correct. Yes, Chastity wants to make sure that he's in a good home because he is very medical, challenged, and he's got a lot that's still coming up. That's, he's not getting much better. So.
Now, your court report reflects that you have looked extensively into relatives to be potential placement. In your diligent search for relatives, have any proved to either A, want the child, or B, be appropriate to care for the child?
No, I've checked with both sides of the family, Audrey Rodriguez's and also Christopher Flores's. There was a grandmother that was interested, but she has a lengthy CPS history and criminal history and is not able to take care of him as well.
And so at this time, are you requesting that the court award the department permanent managing conservatorship of the child to continue it in a foster home that is equipped to provide for the medical needs, and also for us to facilitate any future medical needs that this child might have?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the long-term goal?
It would be unrelated adoption.
Do you believe that all of these findings would be in the child's best interest?
Absolutely.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Lifesti, questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Ma'am, my client expressed yesterday a desire to have a exit type visit with the child at some time. Would that be something that you would think would be in the child's best interest?
I believe if she is free of drugs, that an exit visit, is possible. I would have to staff that to make, to assure that, because he is in San Antonio, but just with her drug history, I'm concerned about that.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Ratliff, questions?
Ma'am, the caregiver Chastity is a registered nurse, is that correct?
That is correct.
And she is more than able to take care of Alex's needs, is that right?
Yes, she is quite amazing.
Me and to you, I believe that she's not interested in long-term care for Alex, is that right?
She is interested in long-term, but not adoption.
Okay. With all these issues that Alex has, what are the prospects for an adoption?
It would have to be someone in a, that's going to be able to care for his medical needs. He does see numerous doctors and specialists weekly, so we would have to find, a family that would be willing to do that.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything further, Ms. Rankin?
Yes, just one follow-up. Have either parent indicated any Indian heritage?
No.
Pass the witness. The department rests.
Thank you. Mr. Lifesti, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Do you rest at this time?
I do, I rest.
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Ratliff, you are also the guardian ad litem, and as the guardian, your opinion on the child's best interest, having heard the evidence?
Your Honor, my opinion is that the child needs to remain with the department. I've had extensive discussions with the caregiver who's an RN, and Alex has tremendous numbers of problems. It's going to be very difficult to find a qualified supporting family. And I just pray for this child all the time, and I hope that something can be worked out and to rescue him. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All parties rest and close. Waive closing at this time. Ms. Rankin,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lifesti,
Yes, rest and close, and I would waive closing, Your Honor.
and Mr. Ratliff.
Rest and close, Your Honor.
All right. I will take judicial notice of the fact that an order establishing the paternity of Christopher Flores for Alex Flores was entered in this case on December the 27th of 2022, which unequivocally established that he is the father of the child, Alex Flores, and I will find so for purposes of the final order. The court has jurisdiction to hear the case. The parents were properly served in this case and had notice of the final hearing. The court finds that Audrey Rodriguez has engaged in conduct or knowingly placed the child with persons who engaged in conduct which endangered the physical or emotional well-being of the child by clear and convincing evidence. The court further finds by clear and convincing evidence that Audrey Rodriguez has constructively abandoned the child who's been in the permanent or temporary managing conservatorship of the department for not less than 6 months, and the department made reasonable efforts to return the child to the parent. The parent has not regularly visited or maintained significant contact with the child, and the parent has demonstrated an inability to provide the child with a safe environment. The court further finds that Audrey Rodriguez, by clear and convincing evidence, has failed to comply with the provisions of a court order that specifically established the actions necessary for the parent to obtain the return of the child who's been in the permanent or temporary managing conservatorship of the department for not less than 9 months as a result of the child's removal from the parent under Texas Family Code Chapter 262 for the abuse or neglect of the child. The court finds by clear and convincing evidence that Christopher Flores has engaged in conduct or knowingly placed the child with persons who engaged in conduct which endangered the physical or emotional well-being of the child, that Christopher Flores has constructively abandoned the child who has been in the permanent or temporary managing conservatorship of the department for not less than 6 months, and the department has made reasonable efforts to return the child to the parent. The parent has not regularly maintained significant contact with the child, and the parent has demonstrated an inability to provide the child with a safe environment. The court further finds by clear and convincing evidence that Christopher Flores failed to comply with the provisions of a court order that specifically established the actions necessary for the parent to obtain the return of the child who's been in the permanent or temporary managing conservatorship of the department for not less than 9 months as a result of the child's removal from the parent under Texas Family Code Chapter 262 for the abuse or neglect of the child. I further find that there is clear and convincing evidence that it would be in the best interest of the child, Alex Flores, that his parental rights for both Audrey Rodriguez and Christopher Flores be terminated on this day, and I do so. I do not find that either parent had the child removed from them because the child was homeschooled, economically disadvantaged, they'd committed a nonviolent misdemeanor, the child was given THC for treatment, declined immunizations, or was engaged in normal activities for his age, ability, or culture. And I find that there has been no evidence that the parent has made a good faith effort to comply with the services, and the parent was unable to comply through no fault of their own. I will name the department as the permanent managing conservator for Alex Flores. I'm hoping that we find him. I know that he's in an excellent placement right now and likely will be there for some time to come. But if should another equally as fine placement come up, I hope for that as well. He's been beating all the odds so far. He was not expected to live past now, and he is still a fighter. So we can hope for the best and pray for that as well. I will dismiss Mr. Lifesti as the attorney for Audrey Rodriguez for good cause. I will retain Mr. Ratliff as the attorney for Alex Flores as long as he is in the permanent managing care of the department. Our next hearing on the matter, and I should say this, Mr. Lifesti, your client has a right to appeal, as does Mr. Flores, Ms. Mims, if you were to hear from him. They can be told of their right to appeal. It's a limited time frame, so if they choose to do so, they need to contact the court immediately. Thank you all for your dedication to Alex, Ms. Mims. I do appreciate the hard work you put in for him and how much you care for him. So I really do hope that we find him, that he stays where he is as long as he can, and that we find him an equally awesome home if we can. Thank you all for coming. We are adjourned.